Hello, everyone. Welcome. As you can see, I'm not Dale, and I'm guessing by Ben smiling that you can hear me, so that's good. Um, Dale will join us shortly, but I'm filling in briefly for him. So, welcome to Low Code Campfire. This is our weekly call that we have for the community to come and bring ideas and or problems that you might be having that you want to try to get solutions to. It's an open forum, and everyone is welcome to jump in and join. So we encourage you to bring something to share with everybody or to be ready to help with ideas and suggestions. And all of our past editions are recorded, and as well as the call that you're on right now is being recorded, as you should have been notified when you joined. And we post these to YouTube, and we keep track of the different segments of the call so that you can easily go to the recording and find if there's something you remember seeing or you want to go through and look at other sessions. If you look at the details in any of the recordings, you can see that we have contents in there that you can link to specific sections. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and to get notifications about the new videos. So our agenda is pretty straightforward. We will have some introductions, and then we're going to have our standard campfire agenda. We'll have a first call. We'll look to see if we have any new contributions to the Campfire website and look at community feature requests. And I don't think we have any pre-submitted topics for this call, but we sometimes have those. And then we have our ghost stories section where you can just describe to us something that you might have been stuck with, and suddenly you discovered the answer to it, and we'll encourage you to share in any way you can. And you can share either by just unmuting yourself and jumping right in, or you can use chat, or you can raise your hand in the meeting. And so just a few basic guidelines. Make sure that if you have noisy stuff going on in the background behind you, that you mute yourself, and be nice. That's really all we ask. Yeah, we have all levels of people on the call, and we want everyone to join in. So don't be afraid if you don't think that something's too simple or that something's too complicated for the call. Feel free to jump in, and we will help if we can. And if I can get control of my mouse here, I apologize for that. There we go. You can scan this QR code here to submit questions and topics ahead of time for the call. And with that, we'll move right into introductions. Good morning, everyone. Good morning on the East Coast, at least.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. So we'll jump into first call then. Does anybody have anything on their mind they want to jump in and start talking about? And meanwhile, don't mind me. I'm doing Dale's job and what is usually my job, and that's keeping track of the different segments of the call. Anybody have any anything that they specifically came to the call with today that they wanted to ask the community about? And we have Dale on now too. Hi, Dale. Dale, you're muted.
Hello all.
So we're
Good morning, Dale.
Anybody bring any specific concerns to the call today? Matt has turned his camera on. I think he's gonna come up with something.
Sorry to disappoint.
Okay.
I think one of the first things we need to do is to make sure that Ben knows that we missed him. So,
yes, we did.
A couple couple of missed calls, and you know, we start writing notes and being concerned, send a welfare check after you.
We noted your absence.
Nice to have been missed.
Well, I guess if we don't have any anybody that wants to jump in with any specific, we can move on along in the agenda here and start looking at. I don't know if I'm not sure because I didn't check ahead of time if we have any new contributions to Campfire.
There is,
but okay, cool.
I did it. Would you like me to?
Yeah, sure. If you want to share it, that's great. You want me to share it on my screen and you talk about it, or do you want to?
I'll go ahead and I'll grab it here.
Okay.
Not signed in, so we'll do that too. All right. So this one was, and make sure that's the only one. Yep. All right. This is the only one. I had a need to understand in the log, in the event summary, what's going on more than just events, right? What's the big picture of what's happening in the admin logs? And so this is looking at exceptions, not the log as a whole, but when there's exceptions and counting up the same exception over and over again. So this is just a little bit of SQL. It's not, there isn't anything amazing or magical, but it just says, for example, that this particular error happened 65 times between August 16th and August 17th. That was the last time that it happened. That this explore triggers job has failed 5 times. Anything that happens more than once is listed, right? And again, there's no particular magic to this other than I invested some time in the underlying SQL. And so there's a SQL here to go out and grab things from exceptions and related information from event log and group it together and count it up. So, but if I can save anybody the 30 minutes it would take to develop that SQL, then I just wanted you to know it's out there. So no big deal. If you drop this module on your system, you'd be able to see what things are failing, and then hopefully that'll lead towards focusing on the things that are failing frequently, and kind of kill it. Sometimes for me, dealing with the admin log is a little bit of whack-a-mole, right? So what's the biggest bang for the buck? There's 65 errors that are happening in 2 days. Let's sort that out and
well, just having the search box is a big deal when it comes to the log.
Yep. So again, I'm eliminating anything that only happens once. That's personal preference to say, if it only happened once, maybe it's not that big a deal, but if it's more than once. So that's all I added there. Not truly low code, but just using low code. And actually I was going to mention to, I think it might be one of those things that if anyone sees value to it, it's the kind of thing that we could include in our package too, now that we're kind of leaning more on low code. We had a good version of this that, not just a rough version, that could be something that we ship with the product in our logs page. So that was the only thing that was added there. I will go back to so I missed introductions and hello, and for that I'll just say I see a couple of new people on the call, a couple of people that I've been talking with from the support side of things and even the sales side of things over the last few weeks. So thanks for joining us and figuring out what this is all about. we could go down the feature requests area. I know that there's been some things, but again, if anybody has something, all right, somebody give me a testimony on how great live help has been for you. I know Patrick's been doing a bang up job on doing live help, and I know that he's. You had at least one customer this week, right?
Yes. I don't see Don on the call. Are you here, Don? No. Yeah, but Don has been taking advantage definitely of our time, and it's been great.
I know that he had a particular use case that he was trying to get done, I think by yesterday. Were you able to help him through that?
Yeah. He was working on the job listing, and we worked out some details on that, and he kind of shifted the way he was approaching it, and I think that he's fairly happy with how it's turning out.
Good. So I'll just point out that live help, if you haven't seen it, it's available here at the top of our community.plananapp.com. It's going to take you to a spot where it lists out our sessions coming up. So we have another one coming up on Tuesday, and this is going to show in your local time. So my local time is 11 o'clock. Have another one. So you just sign up, log in, sign up, and if you sign up, we'll show up. Cool. On the feature requests, we had a few new added out here. For anybody who is unaware, this is an area on our site. So if you're on community.plananapp.com, and this is a place where that also has the forum where you can post questions. But if you have suggestions, how can things be better? You can add them, just come over to feature requests and add a request. You can take a look through what other people have proposed, and you can also vote on them. If you are interested, you can click in to a thing and let's see, where's the vote?
And yeah, exactly. And I'm going to vote for it too. And isn't it funny how, we've all seen that and we all think, okay, this should be alphabetical, but there it is. It's a simple thing, right? But it's now an official feature request.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. We get into different things through our product, and you see an unsorted list, and it's just like, why? Anyway, but this is also an opportunity to lobby for votes, right? If you've posted something, and we have some frequent posters here, but Mark. But if there's anything that you want to talk about, lobby for votes, now's the time.
Yeah, I tried to hide my face just now, but all I got was the picture of my face as the placeholder. So yeah, I had a busy week. I just noticed things while I'm working. I love the product, and don't misunderstand this to be anything less than full love for the product. So yeah, I have some ideas.
We put the feature request out there because I mean, there'd be no need for it if it was a perfect product. So apparently we think that it needs a little love too. So we appreciate your thoughts.
Well, one I'd like to lobby for right there, like the fourth or fifth one down, report. Let's see, the ability to subscribe to feature requests, one down from there. So yeah, I'd like to see when people submit something to this list, so I can go give it my vote if I like it. And selfishly, I'd like people to notice if I put something in there too.
Feature requests for the feature requests.
Yeah.
Yeah, we I think that this makes sense, and something I think we can turn over to our internal team to do. So how about we call this? I'd love to see the votes, right? But we will put this under consideration.
Oh, I see how this works. Okay, I want to call attention to some more feature requests.
But and I'm actually gonna I need to write down, because the way that this works is the stuff has to be written up and put in front of somebody to get it on their radar to get it done. So you're looking at the guy that gets to write this up.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind that I put more stuff than some people because I know it just needs to be written up, just like you said.
And with that, I love the more, I'm happy for the detail, right? You can throw one line at me, but if you can make the whole case best you understand it, that would be great. Okay, so what else did you want to look at?
The one that would make a big difference to me is the second one from the top. See errors the user sees, including relevant context. I'll paint the scene. You put an app together and your users are using it and they're seeing errors and they're not telling you and you have no idea. And how can you fix something if you don't know anything about it? So the idea here is, wouldn't it be great if the form, whenever it showed an error to a user, if it could let me know some details, like what was the error, who was seeing it if they were logged in, all the relevant context that a form knows about. Give me some values of some my tokens that are applicable to that situation. So, and I don't have any idea how easy or hard this would be to create, but if showing the user an error could also trigger something that let me put together maybe a little stack of things that I want to have happen, then that would be awesome. I could get all the information I need, when, who, where, what was going on, so that I can investigate and solve. So everybody vote for it.
The product team, which meets almost daily, and you have several members of it on this call, we're doing a little bit of a dream list having to do with our administrative screens, and I think we're going to see that the next version coming out, 122, will have a lot of changes to the automation screen. And so we're and we're focusing on doing that one, doing it well, before we roll out these same kinds of changes. And we're going to be talking about that more on Wednesday in the cafe. But we've also been putting together a dream list of what would be nice. And several of the kinds of things that you have are on the dream list, right? Better debugging. Now we're thinking, jobs is a little bit different from an automation, different from forms, but it's kind of the same idea. Automation is happening, a job runs, and because you're not directly connected with it, you don't know what happened. And so, and if things go wrong, understanding the context and the steps, and so we're thinking in terms of better debugging for automation. And I think the same idea carries over when what you're pointing out here carries over into forms, that it's kind of the same situation. As the developer, you can't see what's happening on a user screen, but you still want to understand what went wrong and to be able to deal with it. So it kind of falls into the big scope of better debugging tools. So there's kind of already a movement underway to do that.
I've got some comments, Dale, related to error handling too, that I wouldn't mind chiming in about. Not to interrupt you.
Well, and I actually just, you're not interrupting me, and I'll solicit your comments here in just a second. What I was doing is, like on HSN, when they talk about the thing that they're selling so that the numbers can go up, I'm trying to give you guys a chance to vote on this. Somebody buy off on this, right? Okay, go ahead, David.
Just something I noticed last week. I was running into errors with the send email. Not an error with your guys' code, but an error related to the email stuff. But the send email action doesn't have an on-error action list, so you can't do anything on the email when an error happens, unless it's been changed in a new version. It'd be nice to see that functionality expand to all actions, so that we have that available. But then the next thing, and maybe this is there and I don't know how to do it, but workflows don't have like a, hey, this workflow error, now do these things. I haven't seen that, at least. And so I couldn't even catch the global error from from the send email on like a workflow error branch. I ended up catching it on a job. Since the workflow ended up being called by a job, jobs do have an on error action list. So I was able to do it in there, but it'd be nice from a troubleshooting standpoint, like you're referring to there, to have access to the on error handler on everything.
So yeah, David, as what you said on your first point about not having error handling on each action, that's actually, there's a suggestion in there on the same one we were looking at, report the errors the user has seen. The suggestion in there, and tell me if you think this is a good idea, but you know, so far what I've seen is only the database interactions have the error handling and the others, or most of the others, do not. Wouldn't it be great if there were an action that you could just add to any action stack that said, any error in this stack, I want you to handle it this way? So, you know, like you can load a user to a stack, and the user is used while the stack is running. So what if you could add an error handling to the stack, and it would run for anything that happened in the stack? That's my suggestion. And again, I don't know how hard that would be to build, but that would take care of it. You wouldn't have to put error handling on every single one.
Something like that would be great. I mean, obviously, it'd actually be fairly easy to create a try-catch custom action to throw in there, where you could have an action list for the try stuff and an action list for the catch stuff. That wouldn't be too bad to do either, something like that.
That's actually an interesting. David did a true false execute, basically a variant of execute actions action. So there was a true side and a false side, and able to put actions, and it was I think one of your first forays into custom code, right, David?
Yep, and it would almost be exactly the same thing. You replace that if else with a try catch. You probably add a finally in there if you want to do that. Now that I'm saying all this out loud, I'm like, I probably don't even need to comment about this. I probably could just build this custom action in 30 minutes. It seems like about the basic, most easiest one you can maybe make.
Yep, but that would let you do basically just what Mark was saying, that you could, in any given, instead of it being in line with the action stack, you'd actually put the action stack inside of that action and handle it within that. So it would be one way to handle it, right? I kind of like the way that you were headed earlier, the idea that things could be, jobs have on error. So if anything happens on the job, the error section happens. It would be great if other things like workflow, that there was a construct that we could have on error. To just clearly have a spot that says if this whole thing fails at some level, what do we do, rather than having to code for it. And that's, for me, that's been the area of difficulty. As for example, SQL Server has always had run SQL has always had, or long had, the on error section, but you don't end up writing anything there until you're starting to encounter errors, and you're catching them at that level. It would be nice to be able to have a spot to catch them higher. So we'll put that on the debugging wish list and see what we can do with that. Interesting. And as you point out, the difficulty of doing these things often comes into play. What's low-hanging fruit? What's so hard that we can't even consider how to do it?
I have a question along the lines of error handling and so on. Does anybody know off the top of their head how long when you get an error, you see the error in the log, how long is that string length where it's readable? Where I'm going with this is that I had a fairly long SQL query that was causing me problems, and I also had my own comments in the beginning of the query, basically reminding myself what I was doing and why. And so it errored out, but then I didn't get the whole query in the error, so I couldn't see exactly what exactly it was trying to do. It got truncated. So I don't know how long that is, number one. Number two, if there's an option or possibility for making that string, the length of the error itself, longer. There's a lot of information in there, but it would be great if you could see like the complete SQL statement. Maybe you can already do that and I'm not aware of it, but just throwing it out there.
You can do that. It's in your logs folder. What you see in the admin log is always going to truncate, but the entirety of the error you'll be able to find in your portals / the number of your portal / portal / default / logs. And then you're going to have each day have a log in there. And if you open up that log file, jump all the way to the end or whatever date time it was that the error was, the entirety of the error, including your entire SQL and everything, will be in there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, let's see, chat. Yep, if you have access to the file system, you can grab it that way.
And you can
I live in that
also,
folder.
you can also access that through planted app configuration now as well, correct?
Do you think that the full length of the error message is there?
If you go to the system, yep, and then you can go to the categories, drop down the categories, and go down there, through there, and root. There we go. And then you can download that.
So cool, easier than getting to the file system. Thanks for that, Patrick. And just for fun, I don't think there's going to get in too much trouble here. Looking at one of these are just text files, are very readable. Very, I guess, is but it's got date and time and the full error. So this particular error that was happening here, you know, went on and on and on, full stack. So, yep. Plain text, I guess, is different than saying very readable. Good point. All right. So I saw the counts on some of these have gone up since we've been talking. So thank you for participating. Anyone else, or Mark? You can continue to lobby, Mark, if you want to explain what you've got going on.
I'm happy to see some popularity for give buttons an optional label. I want it because the buttons don't line up with the other controls on the same row. And we could use a label on a button sometimes. I think that would be appropriate. So cool. Glad some other people agree.
Yeah, I've noted that also when you have your labels top aligned. Yeah, that does cause an issue there. And you know, you can fix it through CSS, but it should be easier than that.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. It should be easier than that.
Yeah.
And I put my labels on top almost every time. Is there a way to make that my default?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, not that I'm aware of either, but it's a good idea. Feature request.
Being able to
I'm not sure on how to do that.
Yeah. Essentially building a default setup for a tool. Interesting.
Sure. Go back a screen, Dale. Let's see what the other ones are that I can lobby for. That entity list is a simple thing, and I think you've already commented on it. Yeah, I think I did the same thing twice, didn't I? Okay, so
Must be really bugging you.
the old memory is not what it used to be. So since I've lobbied for the my share of things, can I ask a strategy question? Do you mind if I move on?
Sure.
Okay, this is a group of very intelligent folks. I'm hoping to get some insight here. What do you guys think about this situation? I just recently ran a photo contest. A couple of you actually voted in the contest. Thank you. The challenge that I am trying to solve is I would like the public voting, which anybody can log in and vote. I want to be able to make sure that a person only votes once. The precursor ideas I have is, well, I can filter for IP address, but that's not good enough because some people share those. I've even put a cookie on the system so that whoever arrives on their system, so that I could read that cookie to see if they're trying to vote twice, but that is not good enough for shared computers. So I am at a standstill. Anybody have any ideas how I can make sure that people only vote once?
And it's you're trying to deal with anonymous, right?
Kind of yes, kind of no. Anonymous from the standpoint that anyone is permitted to come and vote. It's not anonymous so far because this year what I did is I asked for their name and email and I created a user account on the fly when they asked for a ballot, and then I have a user account for them, so I know who they are as long as they're in the system.
So even then, you could go back with another email address and
exactly
vote,
right.
But yeah,
and that's what people did, and I would appreciate it if I could thwart that.
Yeah, I was going to say with the doing it anonymously, I don't think there's going to be any way you can do that because, like you said, people could share PCs or people can use multiple PCs. The only way that I would know of to do it is to limit it based off, for argument's sake, email address. But then, as you said, they can use a different email address.
Yes,
I mean, I guess,
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say at some point, I guess you have to ask yourself the question. I mean, is there a certain amount of work that they have to go to vote, and how motivated are people going to be to do that? I guess
I have you should charge $10 to vote.
That's an idea. That's realistic from the standpoint that it would reduce motivation to vote times.
I was going to suggest, did you put a message that said, please vote one time?
Yeah.
I'm joking because I don't have a great solution. I mean, you'd have to just keep narrowing it down by, like, someone probably only has one phone number. So if you took their phone number, but then you have people less likely to vote because they have to put their phone number in. So I think if it's anonymous, you're out of luck.
Well, if anybody comes up with an idea, I'm all ears. I appreciate those ideas so far. It might not be possible. I was thinking about, you can triangulate a person's location with a satellite. And, I wondered if there was a way to triangulate a person's location when interacting with a form. And if I knew if they were sitting in a certain place, that would help.
Mm.
I mean, that would be their
Unless
IP.
they're on the same office.
Yeah.
Yep. Or you can use the device fingerprint that's available. Of course, if people have access to multiple devices, but at least you don't get 100 votes from a single person, you get maybe 2, 3.
That I like that idea, and I considered it already. The problem is shared computers. A husband and wife sharing the same computer. That means that only one of them will be able to vote at that computer.
What if you
Yeah.
pair the device ID with an email address?
Yeah, I saw some services that you can integrate in the web now to do face recognition. You know, so that's probably the
Face recognition.
Face recognition. So there are technologies that I mean, they do machine learning, and of course, if you try to do it twice with the same face, it will not work. So I bet there are external services that you can just integrate. I'm not sure how expensive they would be, but
I have not heard that one yet, so thank you. That's interesting.
Of course, that will, you know, for some people that will detract, you know, that'll make them not want to vote if they have to do that. But yeah,
It does sound a little big
Yeah.
brother-ish, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it also depends what you vote for. I do this, for example, when I opened a bank account online. You know, I went through this, so it makes sense. You know, if I were to vote for something that doesn't matter as much, I wouldn't do it. You know.
Yeah, right.
So another one just to throw out there is human engineering, right? If you do a device fingerprint together with an email, and the first one comes through and you've got no problem, so the vote, and then you've got the spouse trying to vote using the same machine, so different email address, same device fingerprint, you could raise the bar, as in ask additional questions, right? We're limiting votes to only one per person. We've noticed that this device has voted before. Please, but I mean, I'm just saying, asking them for more information or asking them not to might deter them.
Right, that's a good idea. Kind of tug on their morality a little bit, remind them.
You
I
could
saw
also put like a little bit of a kind of a minor threat in there and say, if it's determined that it's the same person voting multiple times, all of your votes will be discounted.
You know, like that, I saw a suggestion. I did a little search just yesterday, finally. There were two suggestions. One was like that, and it said, you can silently disregard their votes if you know that that's what they're doing. You don't have to like be in their face about it. You can just sort of like not record it when you know they're doing that. And another one was you could make it longer on the second try, and even longer than that on the third try, so that their incentive, it would be just take too long for them to keep doing it from the same device. So yeah, just make it uncomfortable.
Bogdan has activated the electroshock feature of my keyboard. And that's another one to do.
Cool, that's a new add-on. I want that one.
To me, it sounds like there's an opportunity for a service to do something like that. Like if people were to send in a photograph or do some kind of verification to create a unique account, I think a lot of services would use that, so that you can give them your unique identifier.
I like the way you think, Jesse. You've just turned this into a business opportunity. Yeah, that's true. I have an initial concern about like misuse of that, or worried about having identity that could then be misused later. So, but yeah, that's something to think about. Well,
Another idea, adding on what was just said, is to use the trust from other systems. So, for example, voting with a Facebook account. Of course, you could fake create multiple Facebook accounts, but you have to verify them all. You know,
right.
so then at least you transfer the verification part to someone else, and everybody has a Facebook login or a Google login. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and typically, like if I have a Facebook account and a Google account, they're going to overlap with the email address, right? And you get that information. So if they try to vote with Facebook and then they come back and try and vote with Google and it's pointing to the same email address, now you're back to silently disregarding the vote.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I don't want to take over the whole session, but those are some good ideas. Appreciate it.
Dale, just on a side note, it's funny how you mentioned the electroshock on the keyboard. I don't know if you've ever seen the Share Your Pain with Microsoft Developers parody video. I'll post it in the chat for people, but it's similar about like this chair where when you get errors on Microsoft products, you can hit a button and the developer who wrote that part of the code either gets shocked or little needles poke them from underneath, or like the back of the chair like slaps them hard.
Nothing like incentive. And just, I want to point out that we're kidding. We're absolutely kidding. Interestingly, and this is just, conversation, right? But we had a video, an internal training video that popped up this week that's on YouTube, and YouTube said it violated their policies. And it was for the harassing or confidential, I don't know what it was, harassing or threatening. And it turns out that somewhere in the middle that we had shown a screen from HubSpot that had usernames and email addresses. We never published it on YouTube. It was an internal training video, just a place to post it. But YouTube is watching this stuff, right? And so when you guys talk about needles and electroshock, I just have to tell you, we're kidding. Not really threatening anyone. But that was a good topic.
I've got a topic, Dale, to pick the group brain if we have time.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got a client that wants to store very, very secure information. So we're talking bank account numbers, routing numbers, social security numbers, which my default comment is no thank you. I don't want to be involved with this, and I need to talk to my insurance carrier. But one, I'd be curious if Plant and App can handle that. Two, I think a more ideal solution would be to offload that risk to a third-party provider where the less secure information is stored locally, and the high secure information is outsourced via an API that's, they handle the encryption, and I just reach it via SSL. And so I'm wondering if anyone just has any high-level ideas or know of any third-party vendors to handle that type of thing, to outsource all of the risk and liability.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
I don't know of any third party, but I work in education, which is a very big deal when it comes to student data and security. And I have written applications where it's what they call PII information, personally identifiable information. And that's like a big no-no. So whenever that gets stored physically in what they call at rest, it needs to be in some way, shape, or form encrypted. What I've done with the Plant and App ability, well, I mean, I basically did it through SQL, I should say. But whatever the record that's being written is, so like if all my records have a unique ID, the date that it was created. Those are fields that are static. Once they're written, they're not updated. So I use some of that information as a passphrase. Then I use SQL's built-in ability to encrypt using a passphrase, submit that information so that the record gets encrypted. Even if someone were to gain access to the system, they're not going to understand or know how to build the passphrase. And the passphrase is going to be different for every single record that gets stored. So one is not going to end up giving you a skeleton key to unencrypt all the data.
Unless they watch this recording, now they know.
Well, no, not even, because like I said, you could use, no, I'm just saying, like in my case, you know, for argument's sake, I would do something, I've even created random salt variables in the record themselves, but I won't use the entire salt. I may use the first character, the second character, the fifth character, the ninth character. It's some way of building it where it then becomes something that is not going to be easily understood or hacked, because they would need to know how you're actually building that passphrase. It's not just going to be a field that you're just taking, popping it in, and being able to decode.
So it's encrypted plus has a puzzle element on top of it.
I've actually, in the way I did my system, I created like 10 GUIDs, threw them into a table. And then what I ended up doing was I created records that actually have formulas, which will take that, whatever it is, I'd say like from grid 1, take position 2, from grid 4, take position 18, from grid 3, take position 6. And I keep doing that. And then I've created a bunch of different formulas. And then inside each record, I say which formula I'm using. Then it goes, retrieves the formula, compiles it based off of the other records to create the passphrase, and then it uses that. So it's almost like 3 different layers of information that you would need to compile and know and understand how all of it gets put together to even remotely be able to decode the information. I don't think anyone's going to really, for the information we have, is they're not going to go through that much trouble to try to figure that out. And if you obfuscate it enough, it's going to be almost impossible to understand.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, that is a pretty cool implementation.
The last layer of it is what T-shirt has Ben wearing on the day that he wrote the code.
Another solution that we see a lot in the enterprise, you don't want to maybe pass the data to offload the encryption because you know, bigger services are more likely to get hacked. You know, what we see people is storing the secrets somewhere else. So, for example, AWS has a solution, key management. You know, so you store the encryption keys in a secret vault. You know, and then you store the content encrypted in the database, but there's no way to decrypt it unless you get access to the key in the vault, which it's a AWS key management. It's a mature, robust solution, and you only retrieve the keys at the runtime, right? You never store them.
Perfect. Another good idea.
And then consult your lawyer and get absolved of the liability.
I thought you did that, Dale. Don't you just absolve me from the liability if I use Plant and that?
Consult our lawyers then. Yeah, and you know, depending on, I mean, you're talking about designated, I mean, true PII. There, for the lesser things, there are tools within Plant and App that will provide encryption, but yeah, you're going to want to find a very secure solution for the PII. It seems to get more and more relevant, right, every day. else?
I have a question that's not nearly as important as either of those two, which is in a grid control, if you have a button on a row and you have a text field that you want to click on a link to activate the button, does anyone have a solution to do that? Well, converting the text to a link wants me to redirect to a page, but is on a row in a grid, is there a way to find that button and click on it?
So there was a contribution in here recently in Campfire. I think this one was it, where just clicking anywhere on the row got you, yeah, this is it. It is essentially clicking a hidden button. And so I suspect whatever's behind this one could be used to make that happen.
Okay, I'll go look at that. That's contribution from Jim Everett. Okay.
Yes, that was number 33. Yep. And for anyone who has not yet officially joined Campfire and gone through the initiation rites, if you want to join, you can send me your email address privately on the chat. I will add you to this. This campfire.plantanapp.com website is just one that we share within this group. You get low-code engineer access to the site, and that way you can open up solutions that other people have contributed and see how they work. It's kind of a living dictionary of mini solutions, and you're encouraged to contribute your own so that you can help out other people. So, I didn't say that originally, but I was just, we try to solve, we all have to have little things that we need to solve, and then passing that on to the community, saving a lot of time. We have a lot of different solutions, big and small, that's part of that. So I'd be happy to add you. Yeah, just like the rules to this, be nice and polite and stuff. It's also don't fool with other people's contributions. Cool. So hope that helps, Jim. I don't know if were you in the cafe this week? I spent some time on what we learned last week on the scope of load user, and that was an interesting question with some interesting answers. So that was, if you didn't see it, it might be worth 5 minutes of your time in the trenches segment of cafe.
I did see it. Yeah, so in trying to reuse it to do I'm going to add a PIN number to the user profile so people could quickly load up and put a PIN to authorize an action. So.
Yep. So we have a new contributor now to Campfire. I'm going to add Jesse wants to be part, so we'll add him in here. Great, that should be on its way, Jesse. All right. We have 5 official minutes left. If anybody has a final topic in a minute. Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering any feedback on the session on Wednesday, the low-code cafe, and maybe asking some help prepare the next.
So this was we talked about automation triggers, and I went through a lot of the different kinds of triggers that are available within automation. And a lot of those are date-based, database, app level users. If you add on our email sync, it adds on another one to let you watch an IMAP every time you get an email. It triggers. So there's these various built-in triggers. But then we were looking for a nice use case for if we were going to create a custom trigger. And
I thought the file watch was a good option. File folder watch.
File watcher was postulated by Bogdan as one we could do. So thank you for that vote, Jim. Does anybody have other ideas about what kinds of triggers? I mean, in my wild world, it was like watching a stock price would be fun.
How about a threshold watcher? Like you want to know when a table gets a certain number of records.
Very
You know,
good
that
one.
could be like a number of votes. It could be a number of employees who logged in, like, you know, anything you'd want to watch.
What about CPU memory usage, something to that effect? If you're trying to track when, if a server is running out of resources or being used too heavily, that you need to throw some more resources at it. So know if your CPU's been, you know, pinned at 100% for X many minutes or whatever, or your memory usage is paging too much or something to that effect.
I like that. We had a client recently who had something going wrong on their server. It actually went on going on for a month until it raised to the level that he wanted to alert us to it, and so we hunted it down. But his CPU was pegged at 100% for a month, and so to have a trigger that watches that kind of a threshold, and you could set up a job to alert to that when that was happening. At least it would maybe wouldn't have gone on that long.
Yeah, I mean, I only thought of that because that's actually something that came up recently at the place that I work. One of the applications I wrote, they're trying to figure out, because the department has to pay like another department money based off of how much power they put behind the virtual machine. And they're trying to figure out if the number of users and the amount of data that's coming through requires that they put more resources into it, or do the resources that they have are enough, or, you know, can they bring it down? And there was no real way to do that easily. Luckily, we got the networking department to actually send us a virtual machine kind of statistic reports for the time frame. So we were able to do it that way, but they were asking me for the information. I'm like, there's nothing I could do to give you that because I don't have any history to base that off of.
So this isn't exactly answering Bogdan's question, but it'd be interesting to have a token that returns some machine information, which you could then call periodically and monitor that kind of thing. Right? You could make your own graphs if you could check it every 30 seconds, that kind of thing. Okay. So, out of curiosity, Bogdan, these two that have been added to the mix are either one of those particularly easy or difficult? I don't know what's behind them.
Yeah, I think the CPU one will be easy because, you know, we have the app idle, which is the reverse that fires when the CPU is under a threshold.
Yep. So we could flip it to being an over the threshold. Memory probably isn't already being watched, so that's a little bit more of a stretch, perhaps. Good. All right, so we have coasted into the end of our hour. I just want to thank you for coming to Low Code Campfire. We do this every Friday this hour, and we'll do it again next Friday. In a minute, we're going to adjourn to the unrecorded Afterglow segment. So stick around if you like. A little less formal. Talk to you in a bit. Thanks, everyone.